Hello, everybody, and welcome back to HTC Invitational. I'm your host, Nimsh, and I'm joined here by Monk, my co-host. Monk, I've asked you many times how are you doing, but how are you really doing?
I don't know, Nimsh. Could get into some like existential stuff right now, but for now, I'll just say I'm doing pretty well, enjoying all these games. But unfortunately, Team Liquid isn't doing that well so far, with Savitz going out 0-3 in the last match to Tempo Storm's Hyped. So maybe I'm feeling a little down at the moment. That's my answer.
All right, but I'm going to cheer you up because the next match is going to be amazing. It's Strifecro versus Dog. We've seen many dogs unleashed by Savitz, but this is the dog.
Yeah, it's the Franker Z, right? It's going to
Yeah.
be like an American mirror match. We've seen pretty much all Europeans so far, with the exception of Hyped. But now it's time for like the North American players to really show their true colors, and it's going to be a great one because it's probably like two of the best North American players that we have. Strifecro, possibly regarded as being one of the best players in the world, and probably regarded as the best American player or the best North American player in the world. Meanwhile, we have Dog, who's more of a newcomer, but he's definitely shown his face a lot in tournaments, and he's had a really educational stream, and he's definitely, I don't know if we can even call him one of an up and comer at this moment, because it does seem like he's still very established. That being said, he has yet to win his first tournament, and the HTC Invitational might just be that.
I think that Dog actually came close to couple finals, right? I think Pinnacle, one of the Pinnacles, he was maybe in the final. Was it Pinnacle or was it a different tournament?
He was in the finals of Heroes of the Cards tournament. I believe it was like number 4. He was also in the semifinals of the Xfinity BlackRock Mountain tournament.
All right.
So
I
like,
also know that he qualified for DreamHack Winter, if I'm not mistaken. Oh no, it was Seed Story Cup. Seed Story Cup. So Dog was one of the guys who actually qualified at Seed Story Cup too. So Dog's been around and he's streaming a lot. He is a great player from Team Complexity, I believe, and versus Cloud9's Strifebro. Well, NA player is going to win this match. That's for sure.
oh, yeah. I mean, with 2 NA players, it's kind of hard for. I would call shenanigans if like a European won this match. I mean, for example, if Nimsh, you came in and played for one of the players, right? Are you really Dog or Strifecro?
Well, I've in the past I was actually casting and playing the game at the same time, but here I prefer Strifecro to actually play his match in person, But and hopefully Dog is playing his game as well. Like nobody else is playing Dog's game for him. But the players are ready, Monk. We're going to start game number 1: Strifebro versus Dog. Wow, look at that lineup: Paladin, Rogue, and Shaman from Dog. What are those classes? We haven't seen them.
I think Dog is just like playing all the underdog classes at this moment. I mean,
Okay.
Shaman and Paladin, like they're classes that you pretty much don't even see these days because they're kind of regarded as like the worst classes. I think Shaman, Paladin, and Priest are kind of regarded as like probably the worst or the most underdog classes. Meanwhile, Rogue, even though it has been popular before, these days it's kind of like being like pushed down by, for example, all the hunters, maybe some of the mid-range duos, and of course like all the control warriors that have been coming up to counter the patron warriors.
All right, so if Dog is playing all the underdog classes, looking at Strifecro's lineup, is it over Strifecro? Over Strifecro lineup? Because we've seen those classes many times before. This is possibly the strongest lineup.
Like it's like definitely like a battle of David versus Goliath. Not only in terms of like tournament results, Strifecro obviously being the more successful tournament player, but also in terms of classes. Like Strifecro is playing like I would say the 3 best classes, widely regarded as the 3 best classes at the moment, while Dog is playing like 2 of the widely regarded worst classes, as well as Rogue, which is kind of in the middle / the bottom.
Well, David won, so do you think Dog is going to win?
Yeah, I would definitely like hope so, because as I said before this tournament started, I really cheer for the players that bring in like the unusual decks, because not only are they fun for the viewer, they're fun for commentators to commentate as well. So just more fun all around, and I really hope to see Dog getting far in this tournament.
All right, fingers crossed that we are going to see a lot of interesting decks. I'm definitely hyped about the Paladin. I hope this is the Dragon Paladin we're going to see. But now This is Shaman versus Hunter. The Hunter hybrid, similar to what Ika played, maybe even the same list, 1-1. But what is Dog really playing? This is not the mech Shaman. This is seems like a hybrid, or maybe just a good mid-range Shaman.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we have Strifecro. I think Strifecro is actually playing the hybrid hunter as well because he had Glaivezukas in his deck. He had Leopard Gnomes, but he also has high mains.
Yeah. And Lothab, yeah. He got that Leok though. Not a great companion there.
Yeah, a very like not only is the big game hunter a good play to contest the Leok, but I think it's also a metagame call because he probably knows like, yeah, this mid-range hunter is, or this hybrid hunter is getting popular in tournaments and on ladder lately. So there's probably not going to be a Dr. Boom, which is not in this hybrid hunter list.
So let's talk about the matchup as well. Here a nice clear with Unleash the Hounds, or maybe even going for face. But overall, who do you think is favored in this matchup?
I think just generally the hunter is favored because like the hunter hero power is just so good against the shaman hero power, because the shaman hero power, all it does is it creates more hounds for the opponent, while the hunter hero power, it's kind of an uncounterable 2 damage to the opponent's face every single turn. That being said, like Dog has been doing quite well recently with or in this game rather, with the mid-range shaman, just drawing pretty well with the zombie chows, with the earth shocks, curving into a Haunted Creeper and even a BGH. So even though I would say the hunter is favored, I think the draws are favoring Dog at the moment.
And he draws a zombie chow, so he kind of jinxed him. But he does have the Azure Drake. Also, I like seeing that Harrison Jones, especially now in a very heavy weapon metagame, like Green Patron being super popular, Hunter being super popular and strong. I think Harrison Jones is a nice meta call.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Even the Power Mace.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think a lot of players are playing the Feral Spirits as opposed to the Power Mace, in order to deal with like hunters, for instance. But the problem with Feral Spirits is it leaves you really weak to Patron Warrior.
Yeah.
So, and Power Mace is like one of those cards that is really good against Patron Warrior because it's able to easily deal with patrons. So kind of the reverse aspect of that. But because we see the Power Mace, like we know that this deck is going to be maybe slightly worse against hunters without the extra taunts that you can get.
Is there any way for him to get taunts? Like he might be playing Defender Vargas. Is there anything else? Obviously the taunt totem.
Let's see. Sludge Belchers are kind of common in Shaman these days as an additional 5-drop. So
yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see that.
But you know, on the other hand, right now we are not really seeing much aggression from Strifecro, unless he's going for face with the Lothab, because he is running kill commands. He is running quick shots, I believe.
Oh, top deck Hex, exactly what he needed.
Yep.
I think actually, possibly the Earth Shock would have even been better in this case, because it lets you use up your mana more efficiently, I guess. But I think he'll take the Hex here, no problem.
Yeah, Hex is still great. Just dealing with the high main. Oh, Explosive Sheep. Wait, what does it change actually? Doesn't change much. So, do you like killing the Lothab with Azure Drake, or do you like killing Lothab with Power Mace, or maybe just Hex and Harvest Golem?
Yeah, I like this. Mostly because you are playing a hunter after all. Let's not forget that, Nimsh. So,
yeah, taking 5 damage to face is dangerous.
Exactly.
Alright, was the sheep good or not? Because I'm still on the fence here. Alright, it was good then. Wasn't sure, but now it looks good.
The sheep also just does really well with all of Strifecro's minions, and also like it's really hard for Hunter to deal 1 damage to a single creature. So yeah, it does look like the sheep will be paying some dividends here.
Well, looking at that sheep, Doc should be able to smile sheepishly, but he is not. He's actually really focused. Both players are actually keeping very calm faces. Look how calmly Strifecro attack faced with that Huffer. That was a really calculated attack.
So Manitai Totem, kind of a double-edged sword in this matchup. Draws you more cards, but gives your opponent more hounds.
But you've seen one Unleash the Hounds already, so I don't think it's that bad. Then again, that sheep is going to do well.
Oh, we even forget the sheep is a mech.
Yeah,
So,
the sheep is actually a mech.
it's quite possible that... I mean, it's not going to be relevant here because the sheep is almost certainly going to sacrifice its life. But that could have been relevant in another game, in another time.
You mean just keeping up a buffed sheep and killing your opponent with the attacks?
That would be such sweet irony.
Alright. There is a secret, by the way. There's a freezing trap. So Dog playing that Zombie Chow to counter the freezing trap. He expects the freezing trap to be there. Oh wow. High main top deck. Yeah, Dog needs another Hex, I believe.
Yeah. Pretty much Strifecro like topping out his curve really well. Even fitting those hero powers because he knows like, okay, if I draw into my kill commands later on, then my opponent won't be able to deal with it. Alec here is a really nice draw. Strifecro will have a hard time getting through that Alec here.
I really actually like Alakir here because you can deal 6 points of damage and you stop the Hymen from attacking. You are kind of weak to Iron Begal, but then you're still not dead. Like even if Iron Begal silences Alakir, you're not dead to just a simple Hymen attack and hero power. You can also play Fire Elemental, then you can get Totem, and with Fire Elemental try killing Hymen, but that's not the strategy to win. And here you are dealing so much damage. Actually, you are setting up a lethal here. If alright, Quickshot was actually great for Strifecro because now he can kill Alakir. Without Quickshot, if you would get like something like a blank, like a Leperno maybe, or Juggler. Oh, okay, Juggler was actually having a chance to get the shield as well. But it was just...
How dare you desecrate the name of Leperno?
Yeah, okay, I'm so sorry. Leperno is never blank. Come on. Yeah. But honestly, not getting out the shield would be lethal for... Dog would have lethal there. Now he is a bit far off, but Strifecro... Oh man, that Juggler, by the way. Those haunted creepers just are smiling for the Juggler. Just having the knives for the Juggler. Juggler drops and then they're just going to pass the knives and he's going to throw them.
Oh, Flame Tongue's not amazing.
It's
he was
4
definitely
points of damage.
He basically needed or he had to hope for either a Hex or an Earthshock here. But unfortunately he didn't get either of them.
He will be able to clear one of the hyenas. But it's... yeah, it's still weird.
This feels so bad. But you know what? Dog isn't in too bad of a position. Because we don't see any burst from Strifecro's hand. But oh, there we go. Is that it?
That's it.
Yeah, definitely.
That's it.
It's actually going to be exact lethal here.
Yeah, 9 points of damage. So Strifecro is going to take down Dog. First win, first game, first blood.
Yeah, like, but I think this game was actually really close. In fact, it was relied on that one top deck, but I think it tells you a lot about this matchup because Dog actually had just like a really incredible start with Zombie Chow, Earthshock, into Haunted Creeper, into Big Game Hunter, curving out really well, but Strifecro was still able to take it. Granted, Strifecro drew fairly well, drawing both high mains in the mid stages of the game, but yeah, then again, like both players are drawing somewhat decently. So I have to say, yeah, it just shows you how great Hunter is against Shaman.
All right, we are looking at an amazing phone at the same time while you are explaining what was happening. So I just want to remind our viewers that there is a giveaway, guys. Just tweet with the hashtag HTC Esports and tell us how are you enjoying the tournament. Tell other people about the tournament, and you'll be able to enter the giveaway. We're giving away some jerseys, phone, tablets. Basically, give yourself a chance to get stuff. Here we can see a very fast win for Dog. Oh, wait.
I'm not sure what's happened there, to be honest. Oh, okay. Apparently, we're getting word from production that Strifecro actually picked the wrong deck. So, a little unfortunate there. I'm not sure what the ruling on that is. I guess it's just going to be a regame. So, Strifecro, we saw he was playing Zoo before, but actually, now he's playing Headlock.
All right, so basically Handlock is his deck for this tournament. And what do you think about this matchup? There is a Shaman versus Handlock. Originally, it was very good for the Shaman because of Earthshock, because of Flametongue Totem. That's being able to deal with the Giants if you have a board. But now maybe it changed a bit, and this is a bit of a different Shaman with Power Mace and some mechs.
Yeah, exactly. I think one of the biggest changes is that Dog, he's running double Zombie Chow, so that's going to hurt the matchup a lot. I think this matchup relies heavily on what cards the Shaman has, because the Shaman, like, it needs the burst to end the game pretty much. If he's running Doomhammer, for instance, it actually changes the matchup a lot, I feel, because you do get that extra burst. Also, even though Dog doesn't have Hexes or Earthshocks in his opening hand, this Mana Tide Totem will be able to do a lot of work as well.
Yeah, Mana Tide Totem is amazing. And come on, you have to give us something to Zombie Chow. Just healing your opponent with Zombie Chow so they can never play Molten Giants.
Yeah.
I actually them at full health till you die. They will never be able to play Molten Giants.
Exactly. You know, most people say that like Hexes and Earthshocks are like the best cards in this matchup. But I actually think Mana Tide is the best because it forces your opponent to deal with it. It's going to draw a card, and it's either going to force your opponent to either silence it, Hellfire it, or Dark Bomb it, which is a pretty good deal, I would say.
Oh wow, a big game Hunter top deck. That would be amazing against that the Giant. By the way, Zombie Chow is not that bad here as well. It will be able to deal some damage and maybe force a Hellfire, an early Hellfire force.
Okay, so I think if Dog knew for certain that... Actually, like, I would have considered the Mana Tide Totem there. Because you probably know that your opponent is kind of more like the
what about Dark Bomb? You want to play Mana Tide into Dark Bomb?
Yeah, I think it's just getting it out there more. I guess this actually makes sense as well because it makes your opponent's turn 4 a little more awkward. Unless he has Hellfire. I think another problem that Shamans have in this matchup, though, is because Grim Patron Warrior is so popular, Handlocks are running double Hellfire, or tend to run double Hellfire. So it's more likely that your opponent does have the double Hellfire, but we actually see something interesting from Strifecro. He's running double Shadow Flame. And usually when you run double Shadow Flame, it means you're not running double Hellfire, so kind of an interesting tech choice from Strifecro, and I definitely want to hear his thoughts on that.
Do you think there is a chance that he is actually running double Hellfire, double Shadow Flame?
Yeah, so I think there's a pretty good chance actually, just because, like I said, how good Hellfire is in the metagame right now, being able to kill Grim Patrons.
All right. By the way, Strifecro told me that he doesn't feel like it was some time ago, so he might have practiced, but he told me that he's not really comfortable with Handlock, and he thinks that Handlock is a very tough deck to play, especially when he's tired. So now the question is he tired? Or is he rested and then happy to play Handlock, make good decisions?
I would say he's probably well rested. He looks a little groggy now, but you know, it's like 12 p.m. for him. Like it's noon for him pretty much. So if he has like an average sleeping schedule, I think it should be not too much of a problem for him.
Well, what's better time to play Handlock that's playing Handlock at noon?
Yeah.
All right, so Bebigan Hunter being strong here, not really a great follow-up for Strifecro. Maybe it's a Belcher turn, or is there anything else? Like, if there will be a Mortal Coil, he could... But not really. I was thinking like Iron Begal, maybe Shadow Flame, but... Is Sludge Belcher right? Just Sludge Belcher here, pass.
Yep, I don't mind it. You know what, Nimsh? I actually really miss this matchup. It used to be one of my favorite matchups to watch back in the day, because I felt like it really tested skill of players. Just like knowing how to play Handlock against Shaman was actually quite a feat in itself, and a lot of players might not have played it perfectly. I remember specifically a brilliant game by Kalento where he was playing Handlock. Basically, he had Mountain Giants and Twilight Drakes in his hand against Shaman, but he just refused to play them until like turn 10 after he had forced his opponent to use Earthshocks and and hexes on his minions like Sludge Belchers even.
I remember that game. I think I was even casting it. I was like just saying that, hey, if he plays Twilight Drake now, he's in a bad spot, but he never played them. Like, he did play them really late when everything was gone. But now the matchup really changed because of the changed cards. This is a different take for the mid-range Shaman, and Handlock has changed a lot. Torison is changing a lot of stuff as well. There's no Torison for Strifecro now, but overall the matchup is much different. So Dog decides to play Fire Elemental, keeping the Piloted Shredder. Piloted Shredder is such a double-edged sword, right? Just creating the situations where you don't want to lose it, because it can definitely destroy your board, or even stop you from playing a card you want with a Mana Wraith.
Yeah, it's true. Funny you should bring that up, because like it's actually pretty relevant against Handlock, especially not just Mana Wraith, but the Nerubian Weblord just causes a lot of the Handlock minions to be really bad. Like Twilight Drake is the obvious one, but less obvious is like Defender of Argus, Sun Fury Protector. If Dog is able to get a Nerubian Weblord off this Pilot Shredder, then Strifecro will have a hard time taunting up.
Yeah, that's actually amazing how a Weblord can destroy the situation and change everything. But even like a Mana Wraith is annoying, right? Just getting the cost increased by 1. Not to mention Doomsayer.
Okay, so if Strifecro didn't play the heal bot here, he was actually dead. Kind of funny. But this just kind of tells you like how desperate Strifecro is at the moment, playing just an anti-Keel bot here. Tap anti-Keel bot, probably like one of the weakest turn 7s I've ever seen from Handlock.
Yeah, but on the other hand, like if he sees that he's not dead with this board, he can set up for maybe a good Molten Giant turn.
If Dog plays this correctly, just like simply clears and doesn't play into Molten Giant Shadow Flame, I think he has this game like pretty locked up.
Well, Power Mason's second Piloted Shredder is definitely very strong and clear resistant, because you are going to get something, and as long as it's not Doomsayer, you might get pretty good minions.
If Dog attacks with either of these minions, then he lets his opponent get off. Actually, Molten Giant Shadow Flame still wouldn't be a thing, so maybe just attacking with one of the minions. Like, yeah, this Fire Elemental, I think this is fine.
Oh, he has a lot of damage incoming. Like, Power Mace is now 5 points of damage with the mech on board. And then there's Defender of Argus, which is +2, so 7 points of damage if 2 minions survive. He's really close to lethal. So what's the turn for Strifecro? You want to clear. You have a nice silence. Can you play anything big with a lot of attack? And really can't play Molten.
The problem Strifecro is running into is he's already used 1 Hellfire, and he has these 2 clunky Shadow Flames in his hand, but nothing to activate them with. So maybe, like, I think he's really regretting his decision to bring 2 Shadow Flames and perhaps only 1 Hellfire. Hellfire, I think, overall is just a better card against Shaman.
If Strifecro goes for Sludge Belcher and silence one of the Shredders, is he dead? Hex 10. He will not be dead, actually. I'm not even sure if you silence here. Yeah, I guess you might, just to avoid a random minion being spawned. Like a bluegill.
Is Earthshock lethal? Well, actually, yeah, I think this is actually... if you Defender up the Wind of Air totem, or the Spell Power totem, yeah, this is it. Dog actually, he's going to win this game. Pretty surprising. A mid-range Shaman winning a tournament game? What world do we live in? Is this 2014, Nibs?
Well, you said it yourself that he brought some underdog decks, and he is David, and David won versus Goliath, so... It's a 1-1 though. It's a tie, so nobody is leading. And we are going to jump into game number 3 pretty soon. But Monk, remind me, what are we watching? It's HTC Invitational. What do we know about our tournament?
Yeah, HTC Invitational. It's sponsored, of course, by HTC, that makes really good phones, really great tablets, And you know what? You can actually win one of those phones or tablets by just tweeting with the hashtag HTC Esports. Tell them what you think about the tournament. Tell them your predictions. Just maybe compliment them on their phones. And if you perhaps send it from your HTC phone, you might even get a bonus.
And a big shout out to Trump for allowing us to have a
Of course.
tournament on his channel. And a big shout out to Trump Funds. Trump is going to play later this day. He was going to play today, so don't worry. We're just finishing up match number 4. We'll have 4 more matches, single elimination matches. So whoever loses is eliminated. Whoever wins advances to tomorrow. Tomorrow same time. All right. So Paladin deck versus Green Patron Warrior. One of the worst matchups for Paladin, right? Like great matchup for the Green Patron Warrior.
Yeah, the problem with this matchup is that in the late game, you actually can't muster for battle. If you have any 1/1s on the field, you're probably losing.
Can you dude up? Can you use your hero power at least?
Yeah, probably not, I would say. Like, the hero power is just dead against Green Patron Warriors. And yeah, here's another problem. Like, Fire War Axe deals with all your early game threats. The Warrior has so many Whirlwind effects, and has so many, like, unstable ghouls even. Is another Whirlwind effect. There's so many ways to deal with your Silver Hand recruits that like Muster for Battle becomes a pretty dead card in the matchup, which is usually in a lot of other matchups actually your best card. Exactly.
Also, Dog is not having a good curve. Just a dude on free. Then he has a Pilot Shredder, but nothing really great on turn 5. So a clunky hand at least. Tyrion might be troublesome for Green Patron, but Tyrion is turn 8, and that might be too late. Also, turn 8, Green Patron Warrior, if just left unchecked, might be able to just draw all those cards. Green Patron has so much draw, and this deck is like an old Miracle Rogue. It's a combo deck. It's much different.
Yeah, and we know how poorly Paladin did against Miracle Rogue, and it does, I would say, even more poorly against Patron Warrior.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Paladin just provides those minions for Green Patron to shine and to copy minions to get more Whirlwind effects to buff your own Frothing Berserker. It's just look at this turn. If Strifecro this turn would have the Whirlwind and just play Frothing and Whirlwind, how powerful that would be. There would be no way for Dog to actually counter that.
Yeah, pretty sick, I'd say. And even now, there's like no way for Dog to kill off this Frothing Berserker. It's quite unfortunate. This Frothing Berserker might just like end up winning the game for him.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. Do you use Consecration here? You're buffing Frothing by using Consecration. So possibly your only way to come back in this game is to hope for the Pilot Shredder to do some work.
You could Consecration and then hope for a big game Hunter draw in the next turn. Maybe that's
actually true, yeah. Alright, so being Strifecro, you can go for many things here. I like developing your Dev Spite. I basically love having Dev Spite on board when I'm Green Patron. And he's going for that. He still has Execute if something nasty pops. That's far from nasty.
And even a sick Battle Rage here.
4 cards for 2 mana.
Or just 3 cards. That's still fair.
Oh,
though.
yeah, because Frothing is actually not damaged. It looked damaged because there is a lot of red next to the health. 10 points of damage. The board is shaking. Dog is shaking his head. Drops Sylvanas, but I believe that's it. Like,
yeah, there's just way too much damage. There's 7. Yeah, that's lethal, definitely. Just attack with everything but Frothing. Attack face with Death Spite. You can even, like, for theatrics, slam your own Frothing Berserker.
Yeah, basically do a lot of stuff here. Alright, so Strifecro spots lethal. And that will be game number 3 done. Strifecro leading 2-1 versus Dog. But Dog is not out yet. He still has that Paladin and he still has the Rogue. So now Strifecro needs to win with his Warlock deck. The Warlock deck will be the last deck that he needs to win with. If he brought the Zoo deck that he actually liked. Wait, this is the Handlock. And he lost the Handlock. So can Handlock win versus Paladin?
Well, here's the thing. Even though we said Dog has like the underdog classes, all three of his classes actually do fairly well against Handlock if they're teched correctly. Shaman, if they have Doomhammer, for instance, and they run BGH, I would say is favorable. Paladin, I would also say is favorable, and Rogue, I would consider probably slightly favorable because they can set up a huge dagger and blade fairly their opponents down. So overall, I think Dog is definitely not out of this match yet.
Well, he's not out, but I think Rogue is actually tough. Where I agree with Paladin, if there are equalities, it still might be tough. But we can already see that he has well, wow, he has 3 amazing cards in this matchup. He has equality, which is great versus Giants. He has BGH and Aldor Peacekeeper to deal with the big threats that Handlock is going to play. So this looks like Dog is going to take it, and we might actually end up in a game 5. But let's focus on the Paladin Handlock game first.
Yeah, exactly. I think even though Dog has a lot of answers, it's not just the answers that you need to win this matchup. You actually also need card draw, and that's one of the places Paladin might struggle with keeping up with the opponent's, like, the Warlock hero power, essentially.
All right.
And yeah, we even see that's an interesting card from Strifecro, a Faceless, and that card was actually basically phased out of the game because it was deemed too situational. Like previously, before GVG came out, basically you had Faceless as a standard Handlock, and what basically you would do is you play Mountain Giant on turn 4, and then you Faceless it on turn 5, and it just forces your opponent to deal with it. But yeah, go ahead.
There's also one more thing with Faceless, because we haven't seen those cards previously in the previous game. But when I see Faceless in Handlock, I'm thinking, hey, maybe there's actually double power overwhelming Leroy combo, because now with Torison, you can play those cards. If you hit a good Torison and you limit the cost of any of those combo cards, you can burst down your opponent from 20. And as you said, like, Faceless is a good card by itself because you can copy the Mountain Giant, or you can copy like your opponent's Torison or a Sludge Belcher. It's a great card.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like, we saw the Faceless being played in Ria's Druid, for example. And I guess, like, Faceless might be making a comeback into the metagame, which I always like to see. I like seeing cards cycle in and out. It just shows, like, this is a very fluid game, and, like, changes are being made all the time.
And you also want to surprise your opponents with those cards like Faceless to create different board states. Let's say, like, normally decks, they match against each other, and you have a certain amount of cards to counter whatever your opponent is going to bring. So you have, let's say, an answer against Sylvanas, an answer against Mal'Ganis, stuff like that. You do have a limited amount of answers in your deck. But then Faceless is kind of breaking it because there is an extra threat that's not accounted for, and you might end up not being able to answer that. Okay, wow, this is a second BGH. This is what you said, Monk. Like, this deck is actually teched against Handlock.
Wow, very interesting. I think it's because Handlock is getting so popular, because it's meant to counter Patient Warriors, this is not a bad strategy just to bring decks that just really do so well against Handlock altogether.
So after seeing a second BGH, would you say that Dog is more bite than bark?
Well, I'm not sure how much bark he was in the first place. It's not like he went on Twitter and was like, oh, I'm definitely going to win this tournament, right? So yeah, I would say, like, this bark is pretty strong from Dog.
Okay. Yeah, he is a very calm person, actually. Very humble as well. Great guy to hang out with. But I just had to make that reference after seeing that with VGH. So right now we can see that Dog is actually full of bite. He is countering Strifecro here. But then maybe Shadow Flame will work? Or is there... Yeah, Shadow Flame looks good. This time there is Edge Watcher.
Again, the problem is just generally... Okay, this is interesting. Double Ancient Watcher. So he's just setting up for an eventual Shadow Flame.
It's so interesting because Strifecro is going for a second giant. He wants to play the Molten, and he wants to Faceless it because he hopes that after seeing BGH there will be nothing that Dog can use to counter that. Well, maybe he can think about equality, But then Dog has not only equality, he has the second BGH. So if Strifecro plays one Molten just to play around equality, not to overextend into equality, he's going to get punished by BGH. If he gets double Molten, he's going to get punished by equality. A very bad situation for Strifecro right now.
Yeah, a lot of times, like back in the days when Faceless was popular in Handlock, you would see players save their Mountain Giants in order to Faceless it on the same turn. Double Mountain Giant is not something that a lot of classes can deal with, but Paladin is one of those classes that can deal with it. So very nice from Strifecro not to go for that very greedy play. And now Dog is... This is a pretty interesting turn for him because all he can really do is hero power here. Maybe perhaps set up a True Server Champion. He also has to also consider how much of the board does he clear at this point, and how slow can he play it? Because even though he has a lot of answers, the real problem is that he doesn't have the card draw. So in the long term, he might not actually be winning this game.
I think I like going for face, kind of. Like the only reason not to go for face would be healbot. But you want to force those Molten Giants. Like, you want to get that equality. But then again, he's playing around second Shadow Flame now, which is a very nice play.
Yeah, very interesting here. You know, Dog will have the Tyrion on turn 8, but actually Strifecro will be able to Faceless that Tyrion. That's actually a pretty good value for a Faceless, I would say.
Yeah. Getting the weapon and getting a nice Tyrion. But then there is no silence for Strifecro, and Strifecro is getting lower, and there is that equality still. Can Strifecro clear this board now? Almost. Like, he can go for Farseer Shadow Flame if he wants to.
I like it. I think this... Like, you're seeing that... As the Handlock player, you're seeing your opponent... He doesn't have too many cards, so you just want to deal with your opponent's threats as easily as possible. I think the problem that Strifecro is facing right now is... he's thinking, what if my opponent has a Muster for Battle plus Quartermaster combo? Then I can just be really wrecked, because after using both my AoEs, I won't have any answers to that kind of board.
Yeah, we still don't know how many Hellfire Strifecro is running. We've seen one. But a clear is always good. Oh wow, a Lay on Hands. An amazing card when you're running out of cards. So just refill your hands. Second Shadow Flame for Strifecro. It feels like it's a third Shadow Flame. We've seen so many Shadow Flames.
Well, thanks for the Tyrion, Strifecro says.
Have you seen Dog's face? Dog was like, wait, what?
Dog does draw into his Lay on Hands, though, which is like one of the key cards in this matchup, along with Tyrion, along with double BGH. So I would say overall he's drawing fairly well.
All right, using the weapon to get the shield and get the Tyrion done. Strifecro is going to get a weapon, but not that useful, especially after that. Oh wow, there's silence. Perfect
top deck for Strifecro.
Yeah, silence is so amazing here. And
also just giving your opponent the Ashbringer weapon is just way too much. Like, as the Handlock, yeah, you do have a lot of value in your deck, but because you're like always on the line of dying or being safe, like that extra 15 damage that the Ashbringer provides is just almost certainly usually gonna put you over the top.
Yeah. So a Giant and a Silence to silence Tyrion. A very powerful turn by Strifecro, getting the 8/8. The 8/8 is going to die to BGH, but still. I wonder if Dog will be able... Wow, that Ashbringer might actually change the game, because I was thinking, second Lay on Hands, what is happening here? All right, I'm just going to finish the thought. So the thing was that I thought Dog is able to dismantle Strifecro's aggression, just killing all those giants, getting rid of faceless. He has that equality, so that Strifecro will not be able to finish the game. He will be lacking damage, but giving him the Ashbringer is so important here because he's getting that 15 points out of nowhere.
Exactly. I was gonna say, like, Dog is actually quite well known for being a great deck builder, so he's definitely like showing off his deck building skills here. Just bringing a deck that like pretty much no one expects, and that's yet another deck that's out of the meta, but he brings it back into the meta game by just adding in cards that most people wouldn't run.
Oh yeah. I'm still a bit disappointed this is not the Dragon Paladin, but I'm going to take it what we get. Okay, so Strifecro facing this board. He's seen second BGH. He knows that a third BGH is not there. He has to think about consecration. So this is Shadow Flame time, I believe. But then you do need to deal with Tyrion, and if you use your Molten Giant, I think it's still alright. You can play Sludge Belcher after that.
Yeah. And I think from Strifecro's perspective, he's saying that he also has an Ashbringer, so he's even more prepared to like deal that extra damage on the dog. He doesn't know that dog has a second lay on hands though.
And a second Masterful Battle. And that's a second Shadow Flame gun. Oh, so he's going for the damage. I like it. 10 points of damage from Strifecro, and he has like 15 damage. Is that it? No.
It's not it, but Strifecro actually, or rather Dog, he has to clear this board. He can't just heal
instead of drawing.
So he has to quality consecrate, and even then, if Strifecro is able to draw it into any damage, like a Hellfire or perhaps Dark Bomb, like any of the two Dark Bombs.
No, Jiraxxus actually doesn't work because he has to attack with a weapon.
Yeah, it's not like the weapon replaces itself and you can attack twice, like it has Wind Fury.
Come on, Jiraxxus doesn't have a weapon, it's his hands. It's kind of like hero attack, right?
Yeah. So very obvious board clear, and now Dog is threatening lethal at this point as well. Although we can see from Strifecro's hand that he has like taunts for days.
Yep, that's true. So
Hellfire
is going to finish it. That's it, Monk. Strifecro is going to take the series. There is nothing from Pilot to Shredder that can save Dog from dying here. So Strifecro is going to advance. First HTC sponsored player that actually advancing to Sunday. Whoa.
Yeah. Strifecro is certainly putting the HTC boys on the board. Unfortunately, they're still down 1-3, but Strifecro is definitely a strong player that can just take it all the way.
That's definitely true, but a splendid play from Dog, and I commend Dog on bringing Paladin and Rogue. We haven't seen that Rogue and play, but Paladin was interesting, and yeah, he played really well, and I enjoyed the game. So if you like, you can follow Dog. He's a great player and a great guy. He has a nice stream. But we'll have Strifecro advance. So this is our bracket. We actually fixed it before. It was mostly like a scheduled bracket, but this is the real bracket. So we are going to see Forsen, as you can see, already advanced, and he is going to play versus Kolento or Firebat. Who we are going to show them next. Then there will be Tides versus Hyped, and Strifecro advancing will face Trump or Chucky. We'll also have Tides last show RDU. Monk, are you excited about this bracket? I'm super excited. Those players are just great to watch.
Yeah, especially like you said, Kolento versus Firebat is going to be up next. That's definitely got to be like the match to watch out for in the round of 16. Probably like the two most on fire players after Blackrock Mountain came out, or even after GVG came out, because Firebat, he's won 2 tournaments recently in Gfinity Spring Masters #1 and Gfinity Spring Masters #2.
Kolento, meanwhile, Bucharest.
Of course, second at DreamHack, of course. Meanwhile, Kolento, he's pretty much been winning everything lately. The Archon Team Brawl, the Kingwin Pro League season, CN versus EU #2, and the Gamers Assembly tournament. He's won 4 tournaments in the last 2 months. It's pretty insane.
Yeah, those guys are on fire. Firebat especially, and Kolento doing really, really good as well. We are going to show you guys this almost like a final match of this tournament. Because those guys, they really get to final all the time. But we are going to go on a short break. Well, actually, it's a kind of extended break. We are going to take 10 minutes and get some rest. And then we're going to be back with 4 more matches, starting with Firebat versus Kolento. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.